today? Well, what are we going to talk about today? So Trump went to Memphis. He went to Memphis yesterday. I saw the full speech. It was basically him talking about how the National Guard did a good job. And then eventually he spent some time at Graceland, which is kind of cool, giving his respect to Elvis. But a lot of what he was talking about also was the controversy of sending ICE agents to help TSA because the Democrats aren't funding TSA. And this comes in the midst of a plane crash that happened from Canada Air in LaGuardia. And just how people are panicked, they're a little shocked at what happened, how there was such a severe failure on the pilot's end, on the air traffic controls end. 2 people died. So right now, what people need to do is feel safe. And if there's longer lines at the airport and there's more anxiety, people are going to feel less safe, especially after the news of the plane crash. So, in classic Trump fashion, because he knows the left are terrified of ICE, he sent ICE agents to help TSA. He was like, hey, if you aren't going to fund TSA, then we're going to go ahead and send ICE agents to help TSA. So all the liberals are probably losing their mind to see ICE agents at the airport, especially those who do not support ICE, which I personally do. And with that said, now ICE agents are going to be helping TSA until the budget is completely funded by the Democrats. Democrats want a couple $1 billion deduction from the ICE budget, and Trump says no way. So in return, he's just going to send existing ICE agents to help TSA because Democrats are not funding TSA through the temporary shutdown. And yeah, it's just one of those things that goes on and on and on. But what he was also talking about in the speech in Memphis was how much Memphis is recovering from the crime. They locked up 3,000 dangerous criminals, and they did the same thing in DC. Now, DC is a correct analogy that people felt so unsafe that they couldn't even walk from their hotel to their job or from their hotel to the taxi without getting assaulted or robbed. I talked to a lot of people. I'm speaking about it on this channel about how young women who live in DC do not feel safe because homeless people would only harass them. They would chase them down and try to get in front of them and touch them and all kinds of stuff like that when they're on their way to their hotel. And that's very important because people did not feel safe in DC until Trump sent the National Guard in to help get rid of those criminals. And now people feel safe going to their taxis, going to their hotel rooms from taxis and to events. So they did the same thing in Memphis. Now I talked to 3 people from Memphis. One person said that they saw a shootout. They were living in Memphis and they saw someone who was a suspect with a driver. The driver's driving. The suspect gets out of his car and is firing backwards at the police officer through his window on the intersection. That was one story I heard out of Memphis. Another one said he was working as a chef downtown Memphis near the Peabody. And he was walking to work one day and he saw someone get stabbed. And he said it was the most traumatic experience he's ever heard. And because of that, he spent 6 months only in his hotel room. He said he lost 40 pounds because he did nothing but work out and take a taxi to his job, which was only a block away because he felt too unsafe to walk. And this is downtown Memphis. Another lady I talked to 2 days ago said she loved Memphis, but she was just so afraid of people dying. All of her friends died. Every time she goes back, someone's dead. The crime is out of control, and hopefully it's gotten better because of Trump. And then lastly, a girl I spoke to yesterday, apparently I'm speaking to a lot of people from Memphis. She was saying that she loved Memphis, but the crime's out of hand and like the detriment to the economy, no jobs. It's essentially a welfare state. I know when I drove there, people had to work in like outside of the city. There's a place called West Memphis, and that's in Arkansas. And Arkansas was pretty much the place that people worked for their money, and then they lived in cheap apartments in Memphis. Same thing with Mississippi. They would work in Mississippi, and then they would go down to Memphis for the cheap housing. So let's hope it gets better. I'm glad he was there. I'm glad there's supporters of him in Memphis, and I'm hoping that Memphis has a turnaround because it has a lot of potential. We don't want it to be where people go there and they say they're scared for their lives, which is also with international tourists. And it could be the next Nashville if people who live there in the government see the potential of the tourism, get rid of the crime, pave the roads, get rid of the ghettos, make everything a nice, safe place to live. And they did that in Nashville, and Nashville has thrived and is continuing to thrive. But Memphis, people are still staying away from it. So hopefully that changes in the future. No new news on Cuba other than they're preparing for a ground invasion. That's something that came from the defense ministry out of Cuba, and Iran, of course, doing their same old things. Gas prices continue to rise, which, like I said, it's better to have high gas prices here than be in the war over there. But we hope they come down soon. And yeah, I hope you guys are having a great rest of your morning, and we'll see you on the next episode of Right Politics.